Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, or the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI.com, Rylan Stiles. Joining me today is Derek Parker on our bi-weekly live streams every Monday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, taking you through the next hour, talking Thunder, talking NBA, talking whatever else that we get into. On today's show, we're going to preview the week ahead. We're going to talk about what stood out over the last 3 weeks. We're going to talk about the NBA stock watch, whose stock is going up, whose is going down, and hand out our technical fouls of the day. So we appreciate you being here in the chat. Shout out to David. Happy New Year to you. Shout out to Curtis. Good afternoon back to you. Derek, we're back from our holiday excursion, and now we're back Monday and Thursdays at 2 p.m. How you feeling?
I'm feeling phenomenal. New year, new pod, fresh start, blank slate. It's like the Febreze brothers up in here with all this fresh start.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. For the Febreze brothers. You love that in a big way. Derek, something that people have not loved, as Thunder Rolls comments that he's very frustrated, or she, very frustrated. This Thunder team gone through a bit of a scuttle. They've lost 2 in a row to the Spurs on Christmas week. We weren't back to recap that on Friday after that game. They also have lost to the Suns yesterday, and this has been a run of losses for OKC. What's your frustration level?
Well, I think obviously this Thunder little losing spell has coincided with us not live streaming. First off, we're back, so the Thunder will again start rolling. Our predictions are going to come crashing through yet again. We were on a roll. We missed some lowly weeks, but we're back, and I think that's the main part of it. Other than that, I think they've lost to some good teams. Obviously, the Spurs had their number a little bit. I thought the Spurs brought a little bit more intensity. We've talked about them at length. I don't think we need to rehash any Spurs things, especially with some more matchups against San Antonio coming up. In terms of the loss last night, I thought the Suns brought the Thunder down into the mud a little bit. They played their brand of basketball. Phoenix has done this all season long. 2 teams like Oklahoma City, they enforce their defensive will upon you. They force turnovers. They make you do all the grindy little things that you don't want to necessarily get into. And I think while Oklahoma City is equipped to deal with teams like this via their defense and the fact that they have the reigning MVP, they just didn't have enough in the tank last night. And I think that's okay. They lost to a good postseason bound team.
That is very true. They lost to a good postseason-bound team in Phoenix. And, look, Phoenix played their style of basketball. 2 of the 3 games against Phoenix have been down to the rock fights, and they went 1-1 in that stretch. And then in the middle, they blew them out. So it is what it is on that standpoint. The takeaways here can be casted all the way back from Christmas Eve until now. So just for the audience at large, because we missed those shows for the holiday break of Christmas week and New Year's week, we are going to extend these takeaways for a couple weeks now. So some of the stuff that you're hearing, you've probably heard by now, or it doesn't necessarily correlate to the exact last 2 games of the season for OKC. One of my biggest takeaways from the last few weeks is that OKC is settling into a preseason narrative that we discussed. How would they deal with the target on their back? How would they deal with, the fact that you're going to get somebody's best punch every single night? And we always talk about learning how to win. And Mark talked about this in the preseason. They have to learn how to play with this target on their back. And so far, in these losses, it's felt like that's been a direct cause. Outside of the Portland loss on the second night of back-to-back, I'm not talking about that loss, but the losses since then, the San Antonio losses, the Minnesota loss, and the Suns loss. In those losses, it's felt like the other team brought the fight to Oklahoma City. Whereas in years past, Oklahoma City has been the team bringing the fight to the opposition, where they had that surprise 57-win season a couple of seasons ago. They had the 68-win year last year. And now this year, they're still 30-6. They're still a really good team. the Thunder are just having to learn that, like, yeah, the 0-0 mentality is good. The 1 of 82 mentality is really good. It's what you've been built upon. But now there needs to be a level of adjustment to the fact that you are going to have games where the other team is playing at an unbelievable playoff level, and you've got to match that. And Caruso has talked about that in the locker room after the last couple of losses on Christmas Day and against the Suns, and it's still a point that rings true.
You're 100% right. And I think in lockstep with the intensity too is the fact that the Thunder are still reintegrating these players. That's my main takeaway right now is that, of course, we don't want to sit here and we don't want to rehash the Jalen Williams wrist injury every single time and make that an excuse as to why they're losing games. But it extends further than that too. The Thunder were without their starting center for this game that they lost by 3 points to a playoff-bound team. They are still working guys back. Like, they're just not a finished product right now. And I know that several months removed from an NBA championship and a year removed from where they were at last season, which was 30-6 through 36 games, you should feel that the Thunder are a better basketball team, but that's just not going to be the case. This isn't a linear thing. Like they're not just going to automatically be better. Jalen Williams obviously is not at 100% with the wrist. He looked phenomenal against the Suns, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily back to being the player that he was. And I think just having to reintegrate all these different pieces across the lineup, and it's not just those two. We've seen Lou Dort miss time. We've seen Cason Wallace miss time. We've seen Alex Caruso miss time sparingly across his 2 seasons with the Thunder. So I think we're just very much in the midst of a reintegration of all these pieces, and it's just so different on a night-to-night basis that it can make it a little hard for Oklahoma to see consistency across shooting, offense in general, defense, even as we've seen that kind of wax and wane in the last few weeks. So I think it'll get to the point where they're feeling better about things in a month or so. But right now you can kind of see the effects of them still getting these players back.
Yeah, and to put a bow on that, it's like the reintegration and dealing with teams having a target on their back and not meeting that moment, not meeting that intensity. It is something that you don't worry about long term. Now, is it something that has ended their chances of the win record? Is it something that has really strongly dampened their chances at being a 70-win ball club? 100%. Like that's all that it's cost this team, though, because you know that in the playoffs, this mindset will be different. They've proven that this mindset will be different in the playoffs. They have to now recalibrate and see if they can get to that mindset in the regular season. But whether they do that or don't, as long as they're still the 1 seed, that's all that matters. That's why, Derek, whenever we were previewing this season way back when, that was our point of the live streams. And I know that it wasn't fun to listen to from a standpoint of, like, before the year, all of you expected this team to be a 70-win team. You can check the comment sections. I was having to battle that narrative all summer long of this being a 70-win team. I think that's way too dismissive of how hard it is to just win 68 games like they won last year. And I don't know if they're going to get back to that 68 mark this year or surpass that mark this year. But at the end of the day, the only thing that they have to do is have the best record in the West and the best record in the NBA. They are still way on pace for that. They're still in lock with that. And that's going to be their end goal. I think that another thing that has plagued especially this fan base as a takeaway is that, yes, OKC has the same issues from a year ago because they're the same team from a year ago. And like, yes, their three-point shooting is not at all consistent, and it can really burn you and cost you games. And the shot variance of a guy like Jordan Goodwin going off, the Spurs going off, can really tip the scales. And that is 100% what's happened. And that was what plagued them last year whenever they lost games in the playoffs last year. That was a big part of it. But these issues, like, the sky is not falling because the Thunder are 30-6. You think of how they're 30-6, and you look on social media, you look in the comment section, you'd think that this team has no chance to win a title. The thing that NBA fans, I think, are struggling to adjust to is this new normal of the parity era in the NBA, because this is the only decade in the league's history where you've dealt with parity, where there's no perfect, juggernaut, predictable team. Like in years past, you could set your watch to the fact that the Warriors and Cavs, they're going to meet in the finals. It's a matter of like how they get there, but they're going to get there. LeBron, he's going to get to the finals. I mean, LeBron, Derek, in our lifetime, from our whole middle school and high school careers, the entire way was in the finals. Like, that's how predictable the league was. That's how predictable the league has been throughout its history, going back to the Lakers and Celtics, etc. Like, this is just what it is and what it was back then. What it is now is the Thunder, who are the favorites, who have less weaknesses than anybody else in the NBA, are still beatable. And we're not used to that as an NBA collective, to see the best team in basketball be so beatable. But that's the goal of the parity era that the league has been striving for under Adam Silver for years now. And they finally achieved that. The past 6 champions have not repeated. They've not even made it out of the second round. We'll see if OKC can buck that trend this season. But, the Thunder aren't perfect. They're not infallible. They're not the Warriors. They're not the Cavs, because the eras are different. Now, the thing is, you get so hyper focused on OKC's weaknesses at times as a fan base that you forget every other team has weaknesses. And you forget that in the course of an 82 game season, every team is going to deal with stretches like this. And I don't know perhaps why it feels different this year. Perhaps the excitement of the addition of Hartenstein, the addition of Caruso, and the chase of having never done it before last year. Perhaps that's why last year's 30-6 record felt better than this year's 30-6 record. But at the end of the day, they're 30-6 in each season of the last 2 years, and the Thunder have won a championship every time that they've gone 30-6. So let's see if they can keep that streak alive this year. So that's just kind of my thoughts on the last couple of weeks. The sky's not falling, and I would just really caution people. And I'm going to write about this on a side tomorrow. But don't, and I struggle with it a lot. I think more than most. Don't let the social media fodder take away from what this team is. Because if you look on social media during these games, you would think the Thunder just have no shot to win it. You would think that the Thunder are one of the worst teams in basketball. But in reality, they're 30-6. They won a championship. They've proven that they can get it done. They have a great defense still. They're 30-6. They have they have arguably the best player in the world. At worst, the second best player in the world. This is still a team that is the title favorites and that is better than the rest of the league.
Yeah, I think it just comes with the territory. You're going to be dissected when you're at the top of the mountain, and that's happening for Oklahoma City right now. I especially like your points about the parity. I think this is some of the best the NBA has ever been. There are superstars on every single team. The rosters are built out. People are more focused on schematics and analytics and putting out winning basketball than they ever have. Players are lasting longer health-wise than they ever have, and players are coming in even better immediately as rookies than they ever have. So I just think the NBA is really good. The Phoenix Suns fit into that. They play really hard. They have a superstar in Devin Booker who made a superstar play last night. And you move on. The Thunder being part of that, as you touched on, they're still the title favorite. They would be picked by probably everybody if you absolutely had to make a choice as to who's going to win the title this year. So yeah, not a lot more to add there. My next takeaway is that there are some silver linings in things to work on. The shooting obviously is a big talking point. The half-court offense, a big talking point. Late game execution, I think, can stand to be better in some of these games. It's great to have that information now. This is, of course, lots of information they had last postseason too, though. These are not necessarily new issues for this Thunder team. I think at some point you do have to start buttoning these things up if possible. Maybe they're just not a great three-point shooting team, and that's the sacrifice that they have for this elite defense. Maybe it's the exact same thing with the half-court offense. They just don't have players that are capable outside of Shea of creating really, really quality half-court offense. But if that isn't the case, and I think it can be, especially at least in terms of late-game execution, I think certain lineups and players can stand to be better in the half-court offense, especially. Shooting's kind of iffy, but if you are to get better at these things, and I think they can get better at some of them, you have to start in this next stretch over the next course of the next 2 to 3 months, where you're taking on these contenders and even just the middle of the pack in the NBA. I think you have to start playing with these things in mind, getting better at these things ahead of the playoffs, because of course we can see that this team could win the championship without being elite in these areas. They just went and did it. But you would certainly like to have a few of these in the back pocket of, hey, we improved and our three-point shooting is not going to be 13 out of 16 going into the playoffs. We are going to be better in the half court. We're going to generate more quality looks for guys like Chet, J-Dub, the shooters. And we will execute a little bit better down the stretch. Maybe not drop a game one against a Denver or an Indiana. So again, I think there's a silver lining that you're getting this information now. Again, not necessarily new information, but you do have to start putting tangible work into these things moving forward as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that another takeaway, though, is Chet Holmgren looks back. Like he looks healthy, and that's a big deal. Like the Spurs game will be a game that everything either gets confirmed or the narrative shifts yet again on Chet. But the stuff he's doing, 3 or more blocks in 4 of the last 5 games, a double-double in 3 of the last 5 games, 9 rebounds last night, halted him from 4 of the last 5 in a double-double outing. The stuff that he's doing right now, he just physically was not capable of doing. The back spasms, the illness against San Antonio. And part of it was because the Spurs were a really good matchup to counteract Chet. Part of it was because of the illness and injury. And now a lot will rest on like, well, how much of this stretch from Chet is factoring in his newfound health and how much of it is he just still can't perform against San Antonio. So it's unfair to Chet, but it's the reality. Like that Spurs game will go a long ways. But Derek, he is playing at a much better level right now, and he's been a much improved offensive weapon for this team in totality of the season, but especially these last couple of weeks after that San Antonio Christmas Day game, and he's just got to kind of have to build on that.
Chet Holmgren has been unbelievable in this last stretch of games. As a rim protector, he has looked even better than his best 5-game stretch at any point in his career, probably in his life. He has been evaporating shots at the rim at an incredible level. He has looked so smooth and controlled on offense. He looks like a legitimate superstar level player. And I think that's a great thing and an underlying reason as to why this Thunder team can get better. And that's my final takeaway, is that I still think Oklahoma City is going to be a better team than last season. I think you can see it in the minute ways that Shea has improved. I think AJ Mitchell obviously is a huge addition, and the confidence he plays with, the skill set he brings. Chet's a better player. I think J-Dub can get back to some semblance of the player he was. I think guys like Isaiah Joe have made strides. Aaron Wiggins has been a little better defensively this season than years previous. I think this Thunder team's going to be better. And that's not necessarily to say that, oh, I think they're going to waltz to the finals, because as we've touched on, they are not this infallible team. This is the parity league right now. Like a lot of these contenders are going to have the capability to go win a championship. But I will say, I think the Thunder getting better and improving in a variety of areas over the course of this season, even if it's not showing tangibly in the record right now, is going to put them in pretty good position to go get it done again, which we have already talked about. So, yeah, I just think Oklahoma City is destined to continue improving, and that's shown in small ways so far.
Yeah, I think that, like, despite their record, and you know, this stuff is not reactionary. And I only highlight that not to say like, oh, we were right in victory lap, but just to prove that it's not reactionary. We said before the year that they could win just 65 games, just 60 games, and still be a better version of themselves heading into the playoffs than they were whenever they won 68 games. And I really believe that, like, by the time you get to the end of the season, I think that J-Dub will be a lot better. I think that J-Dub last night showed you that the offensive game is still in there while having a bad shot attempt from 3, while having 4 turnovers, I think, due to the wrist. But like, as he gets further removed from that wrist surgery and more comfortable with his wrist, you're going to see him be a better player. I think that AJ Mitchell is going to, once you get some continuity, to your point earlier about reintegrating this team together, once you get some continuity with those non-Shea lineups, I think that those will be better come April than they were a year ago because of AJ Mitchell. And I think that there's just probably no world in which they shoot this poorly for the rest of the season. Like, they're going to shoot a little bit better in bigger moments. And last year, they didn't shoot the ball very well. So you look at it and just say, well, we'll see what that brings, because in the playoffs, they were 13th out of 16th in 3-point shooting. Perhaps they get better shot luck. And like, some of it is luck. Like some of the shot variant stuff is luck. And perhaps they just will be a little bit better than last year from distance in the playoffs. But they are going to be a better team, I think, by the end of the year. And we could be wrong on that. But it just proves that it's not reactionary to the fact that they've lost a couple of games here in a row. 30-6 is still a great mark and a great place to be. It's still sitting atop the NBA. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Coming up, let's preview the week ahead for Oklahoma City, and let's take a trip to the stock market to see whose stock is rising and falling. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, including our live streams with Derek Parker, Monday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time, 5 days a week for the daily show, plus after every single game, and 2 more live streams each week for you, our squad show with Jeremy Lamb and Tyler Jones and myself on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. Central. So plenty of content for you. And if you everydayers want to, you can join the Everydayer Club. If you listen to this show every single day, go to LockedOnPodcast.com/Everydayer Club. You can sign up for the Lockdown Thunder Everydayer Club and get ad-free episodes. You can also get text access with me and go to our Discord server with emails and exclusive episodes along the way also with that Everydayer Club. So make sure that you sign up today if you want to. Derek, let's preview the week ahead for OKC. This is going to be an interesting one because, to me, this is a must-win week for Oklahoma City. You've got to get back on track in a big way. And I know that this is the second night of a travel back-to-back. You're playing the Hornets. You're playing the Jazz. You're playing Memphis, and you're playing Miami this week. You got to go 4-0. You've got to take care of these teams. Some present interesting challenges versus others, but it's still a week ahead where you have to take advantage of a softer schedule because this schedule will harden quickly. You're going to have a set of playing the Spurs and Rockets back-to-back. You're soon going to have a run of Nuggets games starting February 1st because they've pushed all those games to the end of the season for OKC. So you're going to have tougher matchups, and whenever you get a week like this of Charlotte, Utah, Memphis, Miami, you have to capitalize. So what's the best game in your mind this week, Derek?
It's got to be Miami. I think they're, 5-1 in their last 6. They play a fun brand of basketball. They're always competitive under Spo. They've got some new and interesting pieces with and potential up-and-coming all-star. The young Kel'el Ware has been playing some pretty decent basketball of late. So it's got to be Miami, not necessarily because I think Miami is this absolute juggernaut, but because, as you touched on, these other 3 should be more than winnable.
Yeah, I agree with you on Miami. I think that Miami at least provides something to test this Thunder team. Like, their pace and style of offense can at least be a challenge for OKC's defense, which is why that's my best storyline in a game this week. Like, if you're looking at this matchup, I really want to see this high-powered, up-tempo, almost chaotic Miami offense against Oklahoma City's defense. And you got a little bit of a glimpse of that against the quote-unquote Hawks whenever they sat everybody against OKC and just started launching threes and going at a breakneck speed, and how they got off to such a strong start in that first half, and they continued that shot making in the second half. Miami can push the Thunder in those sort of ways. How does the Thunder defense react to that this week? So that's my best storyline in a game this week, in my best game of the week. So let's go with your best storyline this week.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it. It's, can Oklahoma City continue to take care of business like teams like this? Like, Miami maybe doesn't fit into that as a team that we both think is kind of humming along right now and is very competitive. They're always in the mix in the East, but Oklahoma City this season at least has traditionally taken care of teams like the Hornets, the Jazz, the undermanned Grizzlies. So I think if you look back at this stretch against the Spurs and losing to, the Timberwolves, and then last night, these are all very explainable. These are really good teams. The Thunder haven't had their fastball in a lot of these games. Very explainable losses. If you go and lose multiple in this 3-game stretch of Hornets, Jazz, Grizzlies, then I think you're going to have some issues. Now, no one is predicting that to happen. I think, as we'll get into, we're predicting wins here this week, but losing games like this that you have taken care of all season long, that would finally send off some signals of like, okay, something is a little bit more wrong than it has been, which to this point we don't think is. We think everything is fine. So that's just the one thing to watch out for is, can they continue taking care of business? And I think that they will.
So the most boring game of the week, a lot to pick from. Yeah. I'm going to go with your Charlotte Hornets. And this is not a pile on Derek. Charlotte Hornets, as my 76ers are surging to win me that bet and force you to watch an Elvis movie. But this is more so a outcome of the Thunder are so good at responding to losses this year. And this has been their MO for multiple seasons now of not having a string of losses. The game that Shea had yesterday was brutal by his standards, and almost brutal by anybody's standards, but especially Shea's. And he's going to want to respond. This team should have the motivation to respond and take care of these Hornets. So I just think that if you're going to get a massive Shea game, which he always follows up with the rare duds that he has with a great game, then it's going to get ugly in a hurry for Charlotte and make this game kind of rendered useless. This is splitting hairs because you mentioned how bad the schedule is this week. So I don't begrudge you for having a different answer, especially protecting the shield of your Charlotte Hornets. But what's your most boring game of the week?
The only pushback and the only reason I didn't pick the Hornets is because, number one, the Hornets truly are playing better basketball than the last time these two teams met up. Are they favored to beat Oklahoma City? Of course not, but they are in a little bit more of a rhythm. They play hard, they hit shots, they've got some fun players. The reason I picked a different team is because this is, of course, the second night of a back-to-back. 3 of Oklahoma City's losses have come on the second night of a back-to-back. And while I don't think that necessarily makes a difference in the win-loss column tonight, I do think it could make for a more competitive basketball game tonight. So that's why I picked the Utah Jazz. I think the Jazz, even more than the Hornets, are a team that is probably going to position itself to lose games moving forward. They want to keep that pick from Oklahoma City specifically. So this would go double for them. So I think we could maybe see some levers pulled. I don't know. I've picked the Utah Jazz because I don't think it's going to be a necessarily close game. And I don't know that either side wants it to be a close game.
My nerdy basketball watch of the week is the Utah Jazz. It's one, like their offense, if they play their guys, Laurie, Keontae, Ace Bailey, capable three-point shooters that can get hot on any given night and kind of win the three-point line and kind of equalize the game a little bit as the three-point shot is the great equalizer and can really lean into an opportunity to see the shot variance go their way compared to the run of bad nights that you've seen OKC have from distance. But it's not only that, it's also the strategic part of it that you mentioned of, do any of those guys even play? Does all of a sudden Keontae feel a little sick on Wednesday? Does all of a sudden Laurie have a, hurt pinky toe? Who knows what'll happen with that Utah? So I want to see what their messaging is, what their philosophy is heading into that game, because on top of the fact that this pick is owed to OKC, there's been a lot of chatter from OKC in particular about Utah's perhaps lever pulling and tanking. So do they kind of want to play their guys in this game, especially because you don't really worry about winning it, even if you played your guys against a much better team than you, and just to kind of show, hey, we're in OKC and we're still trying. And they've been a fun team to watch even in these losses. Like that loss on Saturday against Golden State, that was a fun basketball game to watch on the late tip-off in Golden State. So I do think that this could be something to watch for if you really want to get into the weeds.
I am a sucker for the Utah Jazz. They have drafted multiple of my guys. Shout out Karam. Talking a little Keontae George. He's been spectacular this season. He would be my favorite to win most improved player. But nerdy basketball watch, I have to go Charlotte. I really do think they're playing improved basketball. It hasn't totally shown in the win column. Maybe it has because they started pretty poorly. But the vision of what the Charlotte Hornets can be in the future is peeking through somewhat right now. Con Knipple is genuinely a star. 19 points per game for a rookie on absurd efficiency. Breaking three-point records is not normal. He's a guy. LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, we've known about them for years, but they're starting to play a little more consistently across the board, which is nice to see. And then they've got this slew of young guys. Your guy, former All Juice alum, Tijan Salon, showing life as a legitimate NBA player right now. Super fun. Kalkbrenner, who I don't think is playing tonight, still fun. PJ Hall, former Clemson guy, liked him out of the draft. So they're just a fun team. I think they will surprise tonight. And I don't know that necessarily means, again, a close game, but I think they will be more fun than the last time these two teams met up, which was not so fun.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, my most interesting opposing player is Con Knipple. I just want to watch him play in person. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see him out there. Who's your most interesting player to watch?
Yeah, Con was really, really close, a close second. Again, he's a guy who is not that athletic. The Thunder typically do a really, really good job of bottling these types of players up. So he didn't have a great game last time. I think it was 8 points on inefficient shooting. Really excited to see how Con fares this time. He is probable to play tonight. Mine is Ja Morant. Curious to see what he has figured out about this Thunder team. Should he play? He missed his last game. He is on the injury report just generally right now. So hoping he plays. But if he does, what's he going to figure out against this Thunder defense? Fun stuff.
Yeah, what does he figure it out? Certainly not how to stay on the court. But let's do our record predictions. It should be easy, but are we both at 4-0?
I'm at 4-0. I don't feel great about it, though. I think Miami's good. I think the chances of one of these other three teams playing at least a competitive basketball game is good. So I think just like the Suns matchup, there could be some rock fights mixed in here. I don't feel as confident moving forward in my undefeated Thunder picks as I did weeks ago. Obviously, I think the first three games should be take care of business games, but again, I don't feel phenomenal about it.
I'm going to go 4-0 as well. It's just, listen, it's got to be 4-0. They've got to beat these teams. So I'll just say 4-0 for that standpoint. How many fourth quarters does SGA play in this week? We have different answers here. I'm going to go with one. I think that he's going to play in the Miami fourth quarter. I think that the offense for Miami is going to force that to be a game in the final frame. I think that they have a strong motivation to win tonight. I think that Utah puts up no fight. I think that Memphis puts up no fight. And then Miami can really get him into the fourth quarter.
I have two. I think I agree with the Miami game for the exact same reasons. I think that's going to be a good basketball game. I just think one of these other three is going to offer something. And part of me feels like it's going to be Memphis. I know they're not necessarily healthy right now, but they've got some legit pieces. They play their butts off. I'll go ahead and call my shot. Babe Ruth got the reference right this time. I'll say Memphis is the other fourth quarter that SGA plays.
Okay. I like that. Storyline prediction at the end of the week. Now, this is not what we're predicting us to be talking about. What are we predicting the national media to be talking about? For me, it's going to be Chet Holmgren's all-star bid, the fact that he's heating up ahead of that Spurs game. I think that on Monday, the Zach Lowe's of the world will be saying, Chet's been playing awesome since Christmas Day, and now he's got another shot against the Spurs and the Wemby aspect of it, and they'll once again be hyping up that matchup.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a good call. I probably would have leaned there had you not. I'm going to go Shea and whatever new players the national media cooks up for MVP. I think the kind of inkling of this happening with the Jaylen Brown stuff over the last week and the Brian Scalabrine tweet, I think that's going to be pushed to a whole new level this next week where maybe with some solid Jaylen Brown performances, you start to make it Shea versus JB, Shea versus Luka. Should he get hot? This is just, someone else is going to emerge. It's so rarely, especially this early in the season, that we see a runaway MVP favorite, even if it probably should be Shea at the moment. Should these other players miss the 65-game threshold? So I think in typical fashion, others are going to emerge. Not necessarily that they should, because I think even justifying a Shea and Jaylen Brown conversation is silly.
I agree. It'll inevitably be the discussion, but it is silly. Let's go for a trip to the stock market before we end today's show. Whose stock from the Thunder, from the NBA, is rising and falling? Give me your first one, Derek.
I got Chet Holmgren up. This is no surprise, as we touched on earlier. He has been absolutely stellar lately. He has been trending toward a defensive player of the year berth should a certain Frenchman miss the threshold. And offensively, too, again, we talked about it. He has been in control. He's been efficient. That mid-range has been working. The three-point shooting looks better. We have touched on him needing to shoot over contests and stop pump faking as much. And I think he's looked a little better in those areas, especially against Phoenix. He was probably the Thunder's best player last night. And that's not said often for a non-Shea player, but he's been spectacular. I think he's trending easily towards an all-star bid. I think he should probably be around third team All-NBA. Chet has been absolutely spectacular. Stock up.
I 100% agree. Now, I'm going to take the traditional podcaster way out of this and just preface this with I'm just asking the question. I'm asking the question, is Isaiah Joe's stock going down? Because the playing time in those Spurs games last night as well, like Mark favoring the defensive aspect of things, as much as I think that Isaiah Joe's really improved as a three-point shooter and he's gotten better as a defender, I think that we're starting to see Mark's preferences once again geared toward the defensive side of the floor. And I was against the decision against the Spurs in that Christmas week in both games, because in both games you couldn't buy a stop anyway. So you might as well give the guy a shot who, yes, he's not good as good defensively, but the guys who are better than him defensively weren't defending and also weren't making shots. So you probably should have gone to Isaiah Joe. Last night was way more explainable. Last night, the defense was great. Last night they really competed and they only gave up 108 points in the entire game. And so I do agree with Mark to favor defense down the stretch, but I do wonder if like maybe Isaiah Joe like is not going to see this massive uptick come playoff time because of the preferences of leaning into the defensive aspect of things.
Yeah, I don't know that a massive uptick was ever really in the cards. Like, I think Isaiah Joe is improved. I think he could see more playing time. I think he could be impactful in that playing time. But I don't know that via Mark Daigneault and this Thunder system that he was ever going to see this massive boon. I think the chances of that player being AJ Mitchell are much higher given the limitations of this Thunder team. But Isaiah Joe's been fine. You know, he has gone under the radar as a player who has dealt with injuries. They haven't been massive injuries, but to stay this in rhythm as a shooter, dealing with all these kind of ticky-tack contusions and small things is really, really hard to do. And he's come in and mere games ago, he scored 15 points on only 3. So I think Isaiah Joe's been great this season. I think he will continue to be a decent part of the rotation. I think he'll probably be better in the postseason this year, albeit not on major minute boosts.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I'm going to go with AJ Mitchell stock going up. This is someone who I have loved and that we've talked about it in the preseason. My bold take being he's going to be a top 8 player in this rotation. I'm almost ready to make another bold take that like by the end of this, he's going to be a top 4 player for OKC, just as he develops into the player he will become. But the table setting as a point guard off the bench, the catch and shoot numbers have climbed dramatically in the last 15 games, shooting over 40%, despite on the season shooting 32% on catch and shoot opportunities for AJ. He's a walking paint touch. He gets to the rim and he's finishing at the rim to the clip that forces defenders to respect the shot fake, which gets him in the air and gets him into a bad spot for a foul. He can draw fouls by initiating contact. His stock is just going up in every way, and defensively, he's really impressed. I mean, like yesterday, it's not just the deflections. It's not just the ball hawking of getting some steals, but yesterday they try to switch him onto Booker and he fights over the screen. Then they try to switch Carlson onto Booker. He denies that screen by jumping it and staying on Booker's hip and forcing the ball out of Booker's hands and forcing the possession to end without Devin Booker getting the ball back. Like that's just such great defensive strides from him that he can do it on both ends at this point, and he's been a really good player for this team.
This is just who AJ Mitchell is at this point. Like he is absolutely just a good basketball player. He can score on the inside. He can shoot it. He can defend. He can pass. He can draw fouls. This is just who he is. He's a phenomenal basketball player. I don't think your potential future prediction is that far off that he could be the 4th most impactful Thunder player for the foreseeable future. I would say stock up AJ Mitchell. My next one, a little more general to the league. Western Conference stock down, Eastern Conference stock up. Rylan, I'm curious your thoughts on this because the Detroit Pistons, looking like a decent basketball team, only 9 losses on the year. The New York Knicks, I think, have been a contender. They remain a contender. Good basketball team. The Celtics, decent little ball club at number 3, traditionally very good. And then you've got your Sixers, the Raptors, the Magic, the Heat, the Cavs, all these kind of middling teams. But then you look at the West, the Thunder, great, but sliding a little bit. It's inarguable. San Antonio, they had a nice little spurt, but they have shown youth since then. They're obviously probably not going to go and just win an NBA championship this year due to that youth. Lakers, I don't think we really like the Lakers. The Nuggets, very injury prone. The Rockets, glaring holes in their game. I feel like the East has made up a little bit of ground on the West relative to where we were coming into the season.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that when you look at this, we hold the West to such a higher standard than the Eastern Conference. But it's like when you really deconstruct it, the Rockets, they have glaring holes in their game. The Pistons have glaring holes. They don't know what to do with Ozar Thompson, and their offense can get really messy really fast. The Celtics have glaring holes. Their front court is a absolute mess right now, and I don't know that you can fix that. And Tatum returning will be awesome, but I don't know you can fix that. The Knicks have lost 3 straight, and the Knicks still are suspect defensively when it comes playoff time, and you have Brunson and Cat out there because you are forced to play Brunson and Cat. The Sixers, you can't poke the bear about the Sixers all season long. Then they win 3 in a row, and all of a sudden that's supposed to be better than Denver or San Antonio. Like they are a good little ball club. They're not a contending little ball club, and even I can admit that. Cleveland, terrible, and they're supposed to be really good in the East. Orlando, mean, what's going on? Whatever happened there with the Orlando Magic? I mean, this has not been a banner year for them as they were projected to be a top 4 team. The Nuggets are going to be healthy by the playoffs. They're going to be absolute title contenders. The Spurs are going on, a 7-3 stretch in the last 10 games. They've dropped some games that they shouldn't drop. So has every other team in the NBA. They're still a contender for me. Houston's defense and Kevin Durant and Alpi, they're better than anything the East has to offer. So it's like, if I'm looking at this of who can win a championship, my list of who can win a title starts in the Western Conference, and it goes Oklahoma City, Denver, San Antonio, Houston, and then we get to an Eastern Conference team, and that's New York. It's like, for all those reasons, the West is still ahead of the East for me.
I get it. I wasn't necessarily talking about it in terms of who's going to win the title, but I think it's insane to say that the East has not been a little better than we thought so far this year relative to the West.
But
we looked at it as, I think so.
But you've traded off Cleveland, who we thought before the year was going to be a contender. They're not a contender. And sure, you've elevated Detroit, but do you think Boston's seriously a legit contender? And perhaps they are, and perhaps they take that San Antonio role. San Antonio has really surprised. And so then the East has a surprise, the West has a surprise, but then ultimately the East still only has 2 bona fide contenders. Now, only one of them is who we thought before the year, but they have Detroit, New York, Boston. Cleveland is not good in the regular season with obvious playoff deficiencies over the last few years. Whereas in the West, you have 4 legitimate contenders.
I don't agree with that, I guess. I don't think
you're an East.
We came in. No. I'm not saying the East is better than the West.
Are you talking about records? Because it's like
made up ground. And in terms of contenders, I don't consider a lot of these teams we're throwing out contenders right now. Like Lakers, not on my radar. Spurs, spunky little basketball team. Are the Spurs going to go win an NBA championship in Victor Wembanyama's 3rd year when he's battling these injuries and the only thing they've done is beat the Thunder a few times? I don't think so. Are the Denver Nuggets going to just climb to the NBA championship after dealing with injuries to all 5 starters all season long? It's going to be tougher than it was a couple months ago. The Houston Rockets, we have not been high on the Houston Rockets since Fred VanVleet went down. I'm just saying the needle's moved a little bit here.
Well, I'm just struggling to see your point of okay, well, you said, okay, well, I'm not talking about title contention. Okay. So then you're talking about regular season wins, which at that point I'd counter with Houston is at the 5th seed in the West. They're 21-11. Boston's at the 3 seed in the East. They're 22-12. And Houston does not get the benefit of playing an Eastern Conference schedule.
I mean, yeah. I think the needle's moved. I don't know how it hasn't. I think the West has just not been as impressive as I thought it would be coming in. And that's just how it is. Okay. I only countered with all the title stuff because you brought up the title stuff. I'm just saying, I think the emergence of the Pistons, the emergence of the Boston Celtics being better has outweighed the Cavs, the Magic, the teams, the Hawks, the other secondary teams we thought. And the West just hasn't stunned me this year. The Thunder, worse than people thought coming in. Spurs, little better. Lakers, not a part of the equation.
Are the 30-6 Thunder worse
than people expected? Yeah, I think so.
But than people expected before the season began. Now, yeah. I will say they're worse than people thought once they got off to a 24-1 start, because at that point, then people were talking Warriors win record. But
absolute bukus of people picked the Thunder to win 70 games. Tons and tons of national, local media. I think they've been worse, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think, as you and I touched on, we didn't expect this. I said 68 wins again. That was my prediction. Yeah.
But then San Antonio's a lot better than we thought.
Yeah, but again, it's whatever.
You're just an Eastern Conference guy. You're just an Eastern Conference guy. And
I just think the needle's been moved. I'm taking West every day of the week, but the East has impressed me relative to the beginning of the season more than the West. Even if it was West up here, East down here, now I think it's like this.
Okay. Well, we did jump the shark a little bit. One of my stocks was the Sixers. My Sixers are surging. VJ Edgecombe, one of the best players to watch in the entire NBA, one of the most electric, fun players in the entire NBA. The step back he hit in the Garden on Saturday was just chef's kiss. Tyrese Maxey, fringe MVP guy. Embiid got cooking in the Garden. Perhaps Jay Hawker is back. Who knows? But here they come. Philadelphia. my Sixers. Don't let the Sixers get hot. That's all I got to tell you is don't let the Sixers get hot. 6-4 in the last 10, but they've won 3 straight. My Sixers, home court advantage seed in the East, which
just an abysmal Eastern Conference, by the way.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden, the East is just can't hold a candle to the West, right? But here they come, my Sixers, and my last stock before you get to your last two. Kawhi Leonard, stock going up. What a run he's been on. Credit to Kawhi Leonard, man.
He's been unbelievable. What do you have? 50, a couple 40 pluses. He's been crazy. Clippers won 6 straight games. Obviously not good for the Thunder's draft picks. My last two, couple of guys from my former draft evaluations. Anthony Black in the Magic. He's an absolute stud. He can do everything except shoot the ball at a high volume, and he's even been better at that lately. Really like Anthony Black. Feel justified in having him pretty high up there. Trey Johnson, too. Your Washington Wizards. He's been phenomenal. I don't know if y'all have seen this clip of him shooting from the parking lot, but you got to go look at it. He's been so good.
Correct. But don't you have the other one?
I hit it already.
Oh, okay. Well, technical fouls, Derek. Who does your technical foul go to this week?
I think it goes to myself because I have no technical foul.
That's a technical foul.
We're starting out the year 0-1, but we will respond. We will get better. It's only up from here. It was a rushed show. It's a 4-pod day for me and a 5-pod day for you. Sue me. I don't have a technical foul lined up. That's all I got.
I love that. My technical foul also goes to you.
Ejected, huh?
You're ejected. You're ejected. You've been hit with a technical foul for once again wearing a toboggan to the show. I just can't get over.
You didn't have anything either.
I just can't get over.
You know what? You're getting teed up for that one.
Yeah, that was a spur of the moment technical foul.
You can't double toboggan me.
Double T for the toboggan. But I can't wait to see you tonight at the Paycom Center, where the Thunder will take on the Charlotte Hornets. We'll be back to recap the week that is on Thursday at 2 p.m. And the Thunder, by our projections, will be 2-0. So we'll see if that comes true come Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, live on YouTube. Between now and then, you'll have our daily show every single day, Monday through Friday, here on Lockdown Thunder. And after every single game, so that includes this week, a Saturday show after that Memphis game on Friday. You'll also have our squad show with Jeremy Lamb, Tyler Jones, myself at 3:30 p.m. Central, live on YouTube on Tuesdays and Thursdays, plus these live streams. So much for you here. You can find Derek and I both over at the OKC Dream Team, where we're talking draft, we're talking Thunder. It's a podcast on Patreon. You can also find Derek at Derek-Parker on YouTube, where Derek has begun my most favorite time of the year. I wish I could make a Christmas song parody to Derek Parker's YouTube channel, because whenever I saw the first scouting report video get dropped, it did feel like the most wonderful time of the year. Derek, let us know what you're cooking up over at Derek-Parker on YouTube.
Yeah, Derek-Parker. I got a Braden Smith scouting report that went up today. I got a Zuby Ejiofor scouting report, very thundery draft prospect that went up a few days ago. And I'll have several more coming out in the next handful of months. A lot of those will be on the top prospects as we get closer to the draft. So follow along, please.
Follow along. That's it for the Lockdown Thunder live show. Thank you all for listening, commenting, subscribing, liking, rating, reviewing. We appreciate all of you. Until next time, folks, be good to one another.